When my students ask me, why do we need to learn about handwriting when we have so much technology around us? I tell them, when the zombie apocalypse comes and all technology is gone, you'll need it. It's worked fine so far. Hi everybody, welcome back to Talk and Chalk. Today I'm going to be sharing with you some handwriting scope and sequences that I developed for my school. This is the first time ever I've created a whole school handwriting scope and sequence, and it comes off the back of a lot of research that's coming out more and more over many years now that really pushes the emphasis. I shouldn't say push, it advocates for students to have good handwriting skills, and we know that this connects with general writing development, that it develops the automaticity and fluency in handwriting and therefore fluency in their other writing development as well. If you're concentrating less on how to form your letters, then you can concentrate more on the content of what you're writing. So I won't spend a lot of time getting into all of the research that's there. It's there. Go Google it, go research it. There is plenty there to be found. If there's something in particular that you're after, please send me a message on any of my socials. You know me here on YouTube. I'm also on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram. Send me a message. I always respond. So in the context of how this was developed, I really like the program or document that's come out of South Australia for the education system there with regards to handwriting. And I've shared this before, so if you're a follower of the channel, you've seen that I've shared handwriting videos before and how I've taught handwriting lessons in the past. I've actually modified how I teach handwriting lessons now. And in those videos, I've talked about this document before. Obviously, I'm in New South Wales though, so I need to adhere to the New South Wales curriculum and the New South Wales handwriting formation. I even went back into old documents from years and years ago that talked about how these formations happened in different states, which is kind of interesting. It's a bit of a pet peeve of mine though, because it's hard to get resources that match our letter formations, especially if it's coming from another country too. We all have different ways of doing certain things, different loops if you get into the cursive. And sorry, I can hear my kids in the background. They're playing, it's holidays. And those things can be hard to find resources that don't specifically match. First and foremost, we're the classroom teacher though. We need to explicitly teach our students how to form their letters, how to form them correctly, size, shape, and making sure that we have those explicit conversations around how these things are done and why we write things a certain way. So that's why I created this document, to make sure that there's a good process that we follow for our students. Now, coming off that South Australia document, it has in there that there are essentially a few different ways that you can introduce letters and letter formations to your students. One of those ways is via sounds. If you're introducing certain sounds in kindergarten, you might want to do handwriting sessions that will match the introduction of those sounds. However, in my context, we found that really close review of all of our students came from fine motor difficulties in terms of handwriting. And so when the focus was on the kids were able to, recognize letters, recognize sounds, put those things together, unable to form them means that there was those fine motor skills. So we wanted to go with a graphological approach. Now, graphology, if you haven't heard of it, actually, you would have heard of it. If you've watched any kind of murder mystery or crime show, you have heard of it. It's the science that studies handwriting. So when you're watching one of those mastermind shows or anything where it's talking about the criminal has written a letter and they're analyzing the handwriting, the analysis of that uses graphology. So when they talk about, they've written their S a certain way, it indicates that, they're a serial killer or something. They're using graphology to do that. So that means introducing letters based on how they are formed. So for example, anti-clockwise letters first, stick letters together. I shouldn't say anti-clockwise first. There's research out there that says it doesn't matter which order you introduce these things into, as long as they are grouped together based on those shapes. And that's how I created this scope and sequence with a graphological approach, and that's written into the document as well. So what I'm giving you guys today for free, of course, because sharing is caring, is an early stage 1 document. So for kindergarten in my state, kindergarten is the first year of primary schooling for us. Some states call it formation, others call it prep. So for me, kindergarten, as in 4 turning 5 this year. Then there's a stage 1 document. No, sorry, year 1, then year 2, then stage 1 and stage 3. Now, for a lot of schools that have been doing really explicit handwriting for a long time, once your kids hit stage 3, years 5 and year 6, chances are they've got this fluency in writing and they're developing their own handwriting approach. For the purposes of this document, we are still having kids that are struggling when they get to that point for various reasons. It just could be limited access to writing outside of school. It could be the fact that they are using devices too much. It could be because they're used to a home language in written format and not English written format. They don't do that as much outside of school. So there are still things written into this document that say you are still going to do blah, blah, and blah to start off with, and then move into own formations and calligraphy as well, because that's just such a great way to enhance fine motor. It's fun and beautiful as well. I like calligraphy. So I'm going to flip over to the Google Drive that I'm sharing with you guys to show you some of that document, the documents, sorry, and the support materials that I've got there for you. But I will also link at the end of this some of the other handwriting videos that I've made before for you. So let's flip to the laptop. This is the folder. When you open it up, you'll have access to this. So when you click on things, you should just be able to click on the download button and then you'll have a copy of it. This is in Word form so that you can edit it as needed for your school. So I'm just going to try and find the kindergarten one first, which is here. Now these are all quite similar and they follow similar styles. It's just really refined for each stage so that you can just pick up the document for your stage and run with it. This is just taking its time to open now. Here we go. Okay, so this is for kindergarten. So you can see I've got early stage 1 kindergarten. I've given you the outcome, the content that is applicable to this. Then what I've done is, because this is relevant to my context, the ESL scales, and this comes from the online syllabus. So if you go to the online New South Wales syllabus, this information here at the bottom around the ESL scales, that is something that you will find automatically at the bottom of that, as well as the literacy progressions, which I've got here at the bottom of the document. Now, when you open this up in Word, this will fit nicely onto one page, but for whatever reason in Google Docs, it's showing this way. There's some school expectations around there. So the expectation is that K-2 are using the graphological approach, that handwriting sessions, review, posture, pencil grip, start with warm-up exercises, and have clear intentions and learning intentions and success criteria, making sure that we're focusing on a discussion around letter similarities and differences. So let's just go down to, this is the overview of the year. So you've got term 1, 2, 3, 4. Then you can see here this first row across is weeks 1 to 5. I didn't stipulate a particular week, a particular thing, because we know we can't be locked into those things. And this leaves it open to you to differentiate for the needs of your class. And then we've got weeks 6 to 10. This is just to help keep you on track. Then down the bottom, you can see a row that includes digital technologies, ways to compose using digital technologies. And then underneath that, we've got digital tech and games. These games are really specific to those digital technology skills that require fine motor development. So using a mouse, using the keyboard, being able to type. So in this first term here, so across the whole thing, sorry, I've given you links of activities that were available online at the time that I created this document, which was the beginning of the year. So hopefully they're all still available for you. I've tested all of them. I've played all of them. I had lots of fun testing my handwriting skills. So as you go through, they'll progress. So the mouse activities get a little bit harder as the year goes on. And when you go into these links as well, you'll see that they're connected to lots of other lessons in there as well. So when you go down, there's some assessments there. So some examples of how you could do that. Some peer review, a handwriting rubric. I gave our staff some example rubrics that they could use to create one specific to what they wanted to look for with their kids. And then there's the observation guide, which you'll find in the South Australia handwriting document, which is in this folder for you as well. But I also created a new version of that template so that it was a bit easier to write onto. There's digital technologies assessment there from Teach Me Typing. This is great. And then what I've done is I've literally listed the literacy progressions that you're looking for within this stage area. So remember, it's a spectrum of what they can be achieving. It's not like, you know, if they're not achieving 0.3 there by mid-kindy, then they're a big red flag. It's just a spectrum. Okay, so let's go back to the folder. So it will look like that for each of those stages. So I'm going to jump to year 2. And we'll just have a look at what that looks like. And again, like I said, oh, that says stage 3. Oh, it says stage 3, but I've got stage 2 there. Sorry guys, editing issue there. Okay, we're in stage 3, year 5 and year 6, and I can see the content says 3.2. So I've put in there, it's not a handwriting specific outcome, but you'll find in stage 3 that there is content that is specific to handwriting. And those are those points there for you. Again, ESL scales, literacy progressions. And then what I've done is put in some revision there, the order that it should go in, revising horizontal lines, the anti-clockwise letters, speed loops, those types of things. And then for term 3, we move into calligraphy, and there's some links there on videos and some resources that you can use to get into the calligraphy. And then I've put in for digital technologies in there, some assessments that are in there, and the topic of typography, which is quite interesting. And again, more assessment information and literacy progressions that you can use to assess. Now in this folder, you'll also see a handwriting whole class audit. So what I did was that document that I mentioned, the South Australia document, there is an audit in there, which I found very, very helpful, but I wanted to modify it and make it easier. Again, it looks terrible in Google Docs. When you open this up in Word, it will look much better for you to be able to print this off and tick away or put these codes in here so that kids can be using that. So it's got things like hand preference, left or right, write all those things down. Their sitting position, their posture, their paper placement, and their grip. Just a quick check off to see if they're doing those basics before you even start. And this is something you can do in those first few weeks. Give them a little sample to do. Just wander around the room and watch what they're doing, because sometimes, a lot of my time when I've gone in for observations, it's tuck your chair in, hold your pencil properly, go sharpen your pencil, all those little things that will impact their fluency when it comes to handwriting. So going back in, I've also given you guys the pen license permit, the learner's permit and pen license document. And yes, again, it doesn't look the best in Google Docs. Again, open it up in Word, you'll see how good it looks. They've L's, they've got P's. Essentially, this is moving from pencil to pen. And then there's an editable version of a pen license there for you, where you just type in the student name, the school name, and again, when this is in Word, you'll see them like that. And I just copy and paste it, 30 odd times for your whole class. Have them done at the beginning of the year, so they're typed and ready to go once the child has achieved it. I've given you the New South Wales parent guide for handwriting. I think this was developed during COVID, just so parents had a good understanding of what they were expected to do at home when it came to handwriting. And there's some activities in there to help with fine motor development, some hand warm-ups, that sort of thing. Oh, click out of that. Now, what else I have provided for you is a couple of lessons. So there's some programs in here of some lessons that I demonstrated for our teachers, and I'll just open up year 1 and give you an example. And this will give you an example of what it looked like to do quite an explicit program, quite an explicit lesson, I should say, when it came to handwriting. And when it opens up, we'll just have a look. So very basic. This was term 1, week 4. Outcomes, language, there's content, there's a background there, and the literacy progressions that I'm kind of targeting for this area. Again, this does not necessarily mean this is exactly what they're working towards. It's just this is kind of the area that we're focusing on. And then I've got a lesson plan here. So this was their first learning experience, and we talk about how letters A and D are quite similar. Now, if you can see down the bottom of this document, this links you to a Twinkle PowerPoint. I highly recommend going and looking at the handwriting resources on Twinkle. This was a free download when I accessed it. Go to Twinkle. You can narrow it down to your state. So they've made all of these PowerPoints with the handwriting formation specific to your state. So you can go look for the New South Wales, look for South Australia, look for Queensland, or various ones there. So when you open this up, there will be a screenshot of that. That's what I'm referring to when I'm saying look at this PowerPoint. So go and download that if you'd like to use that in line with this resource. And all I do is I go to the letter A, the letter D, and we have a class discussion about how it's formed. We draw it in the air. We also do these warm-ups as well. There's some YouTube links to different places that run some great videos on fine motor warm-ups, and don't let that part slip. We wouldn't let that part slip if we took the kids out for sport and we needed to warm up our body, warm up our hands as well. And then it's just a basic, let's review these letters and what we're going to do. And what you can see here down the bottom is this giant post-it note where I had the A, I had the D, and I've had the the arrows pointing to the direction that we're going to go with. So obviously we're doing this round section first, and then we're doing this straight line first. Hey, look at letter D. We're doing a round section first and then a straight line. Those are quite similar, guys. What's the similarities? And then we write all these notes on here about what is similar. This pink post-it note here, that's my reminder to write down what we do. So what we say as we do it. So, you know, it could be up, down, around, up, straight, or whatever language you're choosing to use. I know there's lots of different rhymes out there that people prefer. That's what you write down so the kids can do it, because if they can say it, they can write it. And then what I have down here, which is really hard to photograph, is a photo that I took of the student handwriting lines, and I've printed it in A3 size and I've stuck it on there so we can then do some on that bit of paper as a class, pull some kids out. And in this bit of paper, I purposely make sure that I do bad examples. I shouldn't say bad examples, poor examples. Examples that don't use correct size, correct shape. They're not touching the lines accurately. So I will purposely draw a little one and I'll rush it. And I'll say to the kids, oh, what happened there? They're like, no, it's the wrong size. Why is it the wrong size? You rushed it. I did rush it. What do I need to do? You need to take your time and touch the lines. Excellent. Can Sandra over there come out and show me a good example of that? And then they come out and they do that. And this is where you can pinpoint kids that always forget something in particular. So you can bring them out so they can practice it on the board before going back and doing it in their book. And when they go back and do it in their book, obviously it's up to you what they choose to do. If you haven't seen my handwriting lessons on Clever Pickles, go have a look. There's some models on there of how I form those things. I've changed that now so that we're doing 2 letters at the same time. So in my lessons on Clever Pickles, you'll see the whole focus is on the letter A. It'll be capital A, lowercase a, and then we'll do pictures with an A. Now I'm only focusing on those ones that make that right shape. So this is literally just lowercase a 5 times, then lowercase d 5 times, finger space. I don't do like 20 of them on the line. Kids' hands are just going to get tired and there's no point doing that. Your focus is on formation, not stamina. If your focus is on stamina, they need to be writing something else. And then we turn the A into an apple and turn the D into a dinosaur. This might sound silly for some. This is where I'm seeing how the kids are handling the cognitive load of me giving them something else to go with the handwriting task. If I find that their A's are perfect when it comes to doing just the line of A's, and yet their A's go all over the place when it comes to drawing an apple on it, it means that they're not processing that 2-step process. They're still having that heavy cognitive load of concentrating on what it is to do. So that means I need to focus on that part of, hey, what happens when we have more than one step and we need to be doing fluent handwriting? The kids that can handle doing the A and the apple, they're handling that cognitive load a little bit better. That's just an additional thing for me to note when I'm looking at the kids and how they're performing. So then lesson 2 was we moved on to G and Q. If we can write an A and we can write a D, we can write a G and we can write a Q. And again, same thing, that conversation around what looks similar, what looks different. Hey, we start off the same way, we do that curve shape and then we kind of have a straight line, but when it comes to a G, we're not going up high like in a D, we're going down and we're touching that bottom dotted line. And in this lesson, we go G, 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 Q, 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 and then we add some words, egg, bag, dog. So we're trying to put those things into a letter formation. And then if we've got time, we can turn the G into a guitar and the Q into quarters. Those are some examples there. Now, I didn't get to the point of doing assessment with this one because I was demonstrating for that week and I didn't want to impede too much on the teacher's time that week. So I've just left those things there for you so that you can assess and register if that's the week that you choose to do that. Now, another lesson I've given you was for year 2. Similar stuff, it's just pretty much refining the resources, I think, on that one. So what I have also given you are the visuals that I used. I've given you the book lines, the A, the D, U and a Y is another one that we did. I think that was the year 2 one, the U and the Y. And then I've given you the posters that I used to create the learning intentions and success criteria. Quite big. These are A3 size, these ones. And again, this is just so the kids know what we're actually doing for this week. And oh, geez. Thanks, Google Docs. It looks terrible here. I promise it looks better when you open it up in Word. I'm learning to write, to fluently write letters, write clearly formed letters. I can write the letters G and Q using correct size and shape. I can write similarities of G and Q, blah, blah, blah. Now, the reason I mention these things is because kids get hung up on some of the other little things when it comes to their handwriting book. My rules are no rubbing out. Don't waste your time on that. If your pencil's not sharp, grab a sharp one. Don't stand there for 10 minutes over the bin sharpening a pencil. Just grab one that's already sharp. You can sharpen later. I write the date as a warm-up, and I tell the kids it's a warm-up, and I do it in about 20 seconds. Here's the date, kids. Write it down. Remember where capitals go. Remember where your tails go. Remember numbers go up to the top dotted line. Don't spend 10 minutes of your lesson fixing their date when it has nothing to do with your learning intention or focus of the lesson. Just get it done and quick, and that's your 20-second moment that you've got to walk around and check that chairs are tucked in, that pencils are sharp, that kids have got their correct posture and grip going on. Okay, let's go back. All right, I know there's a lot there that I've kind of compacted into one video, but hopefully it's helpful for you. If you have any questions, again, please send me a message. I'm happy to clarify anything that might look confusing there because I've rushed through that very quickly. If you'd like to know how I came up with the lesson ideas or anything like that, shoot me a message, all good. I will leave it there though. I hope this resource is helpful for you, especially across the whole school. I will leave my subscription button here, and I will pop one of my other handwriting videos from the past in there, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thanks guys, bye.